Okay, so we're still working with long division, and this strategy is going to use base 10 blocks and quick draws. So I'll put those together into one video and give you 2 examples from each one. So first of all, when we talk about division, you want to definitely relate it back to multiplication. So let's say we have an easy number like 12 divided by 4 equals something. So we could say 12 equals 4 times something. So knowing our math facts, we already know that 4 times 3 is 12. So the way you would visually see this is if I had a group of 4, so if I had 4 items, so we'll draw 4 items, I want to represent that 3 times. I want to show that I have 3 groups of 4. So I will do another group of 4 and another group of 4. So what this shows is I have 4 3 times. And that really nicely shows that when you multiply 3 times 4, you get the 12. And the same thing when you have the 12 and you divide by one of these numbers, you get the other. So all 3 of these numbers are like a family that you can multiply and divide and find the missing piece. So that is how you would visually see how this is broken down. So when we do it with bigger numbers, we're not going to sit here and draw out all of these dots. We're actually going to use these instead. So before I do anything, I need to start with how much I am allowed to have. So I can have 156. So one of these is 100, 10 across, 10 up and down. So that is my 100. My 50 will be with these rods, so I have 10 units. So there's 10, 20, 30, 40, and 50. And then I need 6 ones. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then I leave everything else out of the way. So I'm only working with how much I have. The next thing to do is we need to arrange this into a rectangle. But how do you know how far down or how far across to make this arrangement? I like to look at this number here, the divisor. And I'm going to say I want 12 in a group. Well, how do I make a group? Well, if I think of this line, there are individual units that are stacked up. There's 10 of them here. If I want to make 12, I'm going to put one here and one here. Now when I think of it, here is one group of 12, another group of 12, another group, and another group. So as I move across here, this out of the way, here are 10 groups of 12. But I still have all these leftover pieces that I need to arrange. So what I will do is I'll start building my rectangle out. So here is a 10, but I need it to be a group of 12, so I will add in my individual pieces. Then I still have more, so here's another group of 12 and another group of 12. So now I've used up all my pieces, and each line is 12 down, and I want to see how far across I built. So first we can write 12 over here, and we're looking for how many groups did I make? So I can count them. 10, 11, 12, 13. So I built out 13 units. So when I think of it like that, 156 divided by 12, that will give me 13. So 13 groups of 12, or 12 groups of 13. They're all related in a family, and this is one way that you can visually see that. I mean, you can turn this way. It's all the same. It's all interchangeable. Okay, so that is the basic idea. You will go a lot faster as you do it yourself. It gets pretty quick. As soon as you get what you need, you can quickly arrange it, especially if you know you're only building down as far as this number tells you. Then you're working your way across. So that's one example. Okay, for the second one, let's say we have 182 divided by 13. So the first step is I need to get all of my blocks to represent the dividend, the total amount that we have. So let me actually move this out of the way. No, I'll just leave it there. Okay, so we have 100, and then we need 8 rods to represent the 80s. So 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. And then I will need 2 singles. So this is what I have to start with. Now I need to start building it into a rectangle. And I'm going to stay consistent and just say that whatever that divisor is, that is going to be how many are in my group, and that is how long my rectangle can be, or how tall it is. So let me start with 10. So if I have 10 here, I need to add another one, and another one. So now I have one group of 13, 2 groups, 3 groups, 4 groups, all the way across. I have 10 groups of 13 so far. I need to arrange the rest of this into the rectangle so I see how many total groups of 13 I can make. So what I would do is, let me start with the rods. So here's another group, and I'm going to add in my singles right here. Okay, so now I have this, but I have all of these left over. I can't just line them up like this because these are incomplete groups. Here I have only 12 in this group, here's only 10. All of this space is empty, and I can't fully finish it if it's like that. So in this case, what we need to do is we need to switch out one of these, one of the 10s, for some singles because we need to regroup it so that it can fit in. So I will trade in a rod and get 10 singles instead. 2, 3. Okay, so now I have my 10 singles that I've regrouped. So now I can go ahead and continue placing them into their spots because we don't want any empty spaces. And this fits in actually really well. So now I have a full rectangle. The full area is completely filled in. And if I go back and check, I do have 13. Here's 10, 11, 12, and 13. So if I count across to find out how many groups of 13 I have, well, I have 10 right here, 11, 12, 13, 14. So I have 14 groups of 13, and I know for sure that all of it together is going to be 182 because I already counted that before I even started. So 182 divided by 13 is 14. So if you want to write that in, that is your answer. Okay, so even if you don't have these blocks at home, or if you're moving on to a different strategy, that's okay because you can still represent the same idea with a quick draw, which sometimes is even faster than figuring out all the manipulatives. So when we have 187 divided by 11, the idea is the same. We still want to represent 100, so we will use a square to draw that. We don't have to draw in all of the lines. We just should automatically know that a square represents the 100. So we also need to represent the 8 tens. This is in the tens place, so you need 8 rods to represent this value. So again, since this looks like them all stacked up, the way we represent that in a drawing is we would just have 8 lines. 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay? And then we would need 7 ones. So I'll just draw that underneath. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So before we do any calculations, we just need to draw what we have. This is how much we have, and we want to put it into groups of 11 and see how many groups of 11 we can make. That is what this division is telling us. So once we have our original amount, then we can start building our rectangle. Okay. So again, the same as when you have the manipulatives, you want to build it in a consistent way. So I'm always going to say that my divisor is going to be how long your rectangle will be. That's how many are going to be in your group. Separate it. So this is what we have. And this area will be where we actually build the rectangle. So there's that. So we'll start with the 10. And then I need it to be 11 long, so I will put another line right underneath. So what this is telling me is that if I were to count my units going down, I would have 11 in this group. So I'd have one group of 11, 2 groups, 3 groups, 4 groups. I'd basically have 10 groups of 11 so far. As you draw your picture, you want to cross it out in your original so that you know that you're not going to accidentally use it again. So far, that's what I used. Now I have all these other pieces that need to be filled into my rectangle. But because I'm only making groups of 11, I can't build down anymore. I need to build out. So I like to take one of the rods and place it here to start building another group of 11. So I'll take a rod and I'll take one of the ones and I'll build it here. And I'll keep doing that, and I'll keep building my groups of 11 until I'm out of pieces. So here's another rod and another one. So I will build it out right here. Another rod, another one. There. Another rod, another one. And I like doing it rods and ones. That way I don't build out all my rods just in case I need to regroup. So doing it singles at a time kind of works. So another rod, another one, another rod, another one, and another rod, another one. Okay? So I've built my rectangle. All the pieces are filled in. So what this is representing is going down, I have 11 pieces. 10 plus the 1 is 11. And I want to see how many groups I can make. So going across, I have 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17 groups of 11. So that would be represented down here. So my answer would be 17. Okay. So again, it's just a visual way, before we get into all of the technical parts of doing long division, this is the conceptual way to understand, okay, so I'm basically taking a large number and division is putting it into groups. How many do I want in a group? Well, I want 11 in a group. So how many groups can I make? So what you do with your drawing is you make a group of 11 and you see how many of those groups you have. So this works really well when you don't have a remainder. There is a way you can do it if you have a remainder. Basically whatever is left out is your remainder, but this works for the most part. So I'll do one more where we have to regroup. Again, if you're good on this, fast forward, try it on your own. If you need a little bit of a review, you can watch it again. But this is the idea of doing, so the thing with Common Core is it will give you 5 different ways to do the same thing. So when we're doing long division, one time the directions will say use partial quotients. Another time the directions will say use the base 10 blocks. Another time it will say use a quick draw method. Another time it will say use estimation. So all of these different strategies are different ways to connect with different kids. Maybe a kid is super visual and you have to see it written out this way. Maybe you need like hands-on things, so you need to like physically move things around. Maybe you're really good in your head and you just need to estimate. So again, you don't have to be perfect at every strategy, but at least knowing that there's many ways to do it, and it doesn't take too long to understand the reasoning behind it. It's really cool to have like a pocket full of tricks that you can use when you're just starting out. Of course, when you get on to harder math, you know, you'll pick one way that works best for you, but as you're learning, I think this is a really great way to understand what is division actually asking you to do. Okay, so here's the last example using the quick draw strategy for long division. We'll do 216 divided by 18. So the first step is always to draw what you have and then start arranging it. So I have 200, so I'm going to make this a little bit smaller. I have 2 squares, so 100 and 100. I have one of the 10, so I'll do 1 rod, and then 6 ones. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So this is what I start with. Then I want to start building my rectangle. So again, I'm going to use this number, this divisor, as the number of pieces in one group. So I will take my 10, okay, and then remember we're going to cross it out as we use it. And I need to go 18 down. I need to show that there's 18 in a group. But if I look at my pieces, I don't have enough to make 18. So I need to take my 100 block and actually regroup that so that I have smaller pieces that I can use. So I'm going to get rid of my 100 and I'm going to get 10 tens. So I'll add them over here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Now I have plenty that I can use. So I'm going to build down 18. So here's 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, and 18. So I used 8 of them. So don't forget to cross it out. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. Okay. So far I have 10 groups of 18. Each line is one group. Each group has 18 in it. So we can actually write this on the side. I'm going down 18. I want to see how many groups I can make using the rest of these. So I'll start by taking a 10 and putting it here. But I need to complete that group of 18. So I'll take my ones and start filling them in. So far I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 ones. So I'll fill those in, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. As with everything math related, the neater you can be, the more lined up you can be, the easier time you'll have. Things won't get messy and confused. I'm already a little bit off a little bit. Okay, so then we need to keep going, but I am out of ones, so I need to regroup again and get some more ones. So I will take away another rod and give myself 10 more ones. So I'll put that here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And then I'll continue building out. So I have one more rod that I can use. I'll do this. Then I have these 10s that I need to also fill in. So let me start counting. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. So I've used up all of those. So now my model is complete. I've used up everything. That means that all my 216 pieces are in here somewhere. They are in groups of 18. Now I need to know how many groups I have. So if this represents 10 going across, 10 groups, 11 groups, 12 groups. So 216 divided by 18 is 12. And if you want to think of it in terms of multiplication, then again, those 3 numbers are like a family. So 18 times 12 will get you back to 216. Okay, thanks for watching.